Welcome to TiElogues, and we are continuing our Q&A session from last week with Sunaina Gera. Our next question is how to get a regular part-timer to work for you before you actually recruit them.
So here you fix a fixed term contract with milestones. So the candidate then knows exactly what he's going to be assessed on, and it's very objective. There's no left and right to that. And if they successfully achieve that plan, then you're okay to take them on and recruit them, and the compliances can all happen. So it's a very structured compliance plan and a very structured milestone plan. So it's clear to both, and like I said, clarity must be given, taken right before any assignment begins.
Okay, thanks. And the next question is again a two-part question. The first part, finding the right talent and retaining them for longer time when you have innovative products and services.
Yeah, so here it's very interesting actually. This question it requires a lot of work. Here you can get into brainstorming, doing brainstorming sessions. You get them into doing what they call ideapreneurship as the main motto, ideapreneurship rather than entrepreneurship as their main motto. So they want to become part of the cycle of ideas. You basically get into, and then because it's a very specific idea, you get into industry specific training. So it's not a generalized training which you would put an employee through, which all employees have to normally go through, but it's a very specific training that you would put the employee through, which would be related to that particular field. And sometimes they're not even available, and you have to actually create them. You have to find specialists and design a package around it, and that's how really something like this works.
Okay, the second part is how to retain ground level staff and what kind of engagement, ground level sales staff, sorry, and what engagement activities can one undertake to actually retain the sales staff?
So I think you've got to arrange specific sales meets over here with the sales representatives. They like connection, they like contact, they like communication. They don't want to just say I'm going out and doing my job and getting so much business, and it's just being reported and the bosses know, and whoever their hiring manager or their immediate hiring bosses, he knows. But they like to be part of the bigger structure. So for that, then you can have like a town hall with the sales head and maybe even the company owners. It makes them feel a lot more involved. They can even represent you as brand ambassadors again. So again, it makes them feel, like I said, part of a larger structure than just one single employee who's just going out to the market and selling a product for you. Other thing, of course, which everybody does is bonding exercises, workshops, regular reporting on the performance, a performance check. So maybe a quarterly appraisal system rather than half yearly, just to keep the employee, basically a more connection with the employee, and he then gets a fair picture of what he or she is doing and how he stands.
Okay. The next question is for a startup with a team size of, say, 50 to 100, which policies are important and what kind of employee initiatives should be encouraged?
Yeah, so a combination of everything works. Like I said, the one is of course the ESOPs and it's the salaries, and if a specialist required, then so here what happens is you have obviously the external recruiters and the internal recruiters. The internal recruitment team is the people you employ internally, and the external recruitment teams will be companies which do recruitment for you. I think the combination of both is very important, and the reason for this is your internal checks of what type of candidate you need is something only an internal recruiter would know. Then of course there's the scheduling piece, and then there's of course the piece where the feedback, and somebody has to relay feedback between the external consultant and internal teams. So for that purpose, the internal recruiter is very important. They have a very clear picture of the job description, and sometimes that's not communicated to the external consultant. It's great to have an external consultant on board because they are obviously specialists in what they do. They have huge data banks. They know how to work with the candidates in terms of convincing them. And there have been times where the companies have not been able to close a role for like say 6 months at a time. And when you go to an external recruiter, because of maybe they specialize in that field or they have that large data bank, they've been able to close it like in a month's time. So I think a combination of both works, really speaking.
Okay. Picking up from what you mentioned as the second part, is it important to have a full-time recruitment specialist or hire a recruitment agency?
Yeah, I think I answered the second part first. I think I should go back to the first part now. So, as far as policies are concerned, I'm going to answer the first part now. Policies are concerned, there are lots of them. One can just Google them. There will be a lot of compliances that one has to undertake, and for me to get into like each individual policy is obviously that difficult because they're very formulated, they're very structured, they're all available on the net, and one can get hold of all the compliances, and they also differ from company to company. Some companies may choose not to follow such certain compliances, but this will come out in your HR manual. And I think I've answered the second part of the question already.
Okay, thanks. And the final part of the same question is how to retain a good talent for a long period. We have spoken about retention of talent. So if you can give some key 2 3 pointers to our founders and help the entrepreneurs how to retain good talent for a long period.
So this is obviously not something which is like in a novel idea or just some brilliant spark, but everybody has their really brilliant sparks. But I think a combination of creating a conducive atmosphere to work, then of course I talked about flexibility. I talked about the fact that they like to stay connected with the owners. I talked about the entire incentive structure, the leadership attitude. The leadership attitude makes a big difference. So what happens is if the leadership is that much more progressive, and it's not like a mom and pop shop, and it's a corporate house, and you have a very clear hierarchy. You know what your roles and responsibilities are. Employees like that situation, so then they know clearly where they stand in the whole framework, and there's no ambiguity there for them. I think, like I said, also flexibility is important for them. They like to feel like, okay, if I've been given a certain assignment, I don't have to go about it in this pattern of ABC only. I can do it in A, D, Z in any pattern as long as the job is achieved. Then they feel more empowered, and I think that leads to a lot of help with retention of talent.
Okay, thank you, Sunaina. Thank you so much for answering our members queries. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
My pleasure too. Thank you.